thank you all for being here today. My name is Mark Keough, and I am your current Montgomery County Judge. You know, when I think about why I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, I was in the House of Representatives before this for 2 sessions, but before that, for 26 and a half years, I was in the real world like all of you. As a businessman, as the founder of businesses, as managing multi-million-dollar corporation with multi-million-dollar inventory, with multi-million-dollar budget, I had to be answerable to the people that invested in my company. I had to be answerable to my employees and ensure that what we did was successful, that we could provide the needs for the people. I have worked out there. I have done it like many of you. I've had business. I remember I one time had to pay on my credit card to be able to pay for people, to make sure we had money to pay our payroll. Things like that you had to do in the real world. I am not a career politician. As a matter of fact, my treasurer said, when you become a politician, that's when I'm going to resign. Like many of you, because I have been in private business, my background has been in sales. I've been in the automobile industry and had a great amount of success while I was in that. And if you call me anything, don't call me a politician, call me a salesman, and I'm very proud of that, because if you're in business today and you're doing what you're doing, you're providing to the needs of your people, and you're out there doing what I do, you are a salesperson too. That's what this is all about in terms of free enterprise. So if I had the opportunity to do this, I was in the House of Representatives, I heard about things that were going on here in the county, I heard about various types of corruption that were going on in the court at that time. People would come to me while I was in the House, you know what they would say to me, what's going on in Montgomery County? So you know, I started thinking about it. I served 2 terms in the Texas House, and I decided to run to be the county judge. When I did that, I had a plan. I put a plan in place. I had it before I went in, and I successfully have achieved those things that I said I was going to do, having to do with a stable government, lower taxes, law enforcement, mobility, and a balanced budget, and a significant reduction in your taxes and getting the budget under control. We are today a AAA rated out of 9 counties in the state of Texas. We have become a AAA rated company. Thank you.
Thank you all for doing this, and I appreciate the unity that's here that you're showing. What I can tell you is that is what's lacking in our county right now, is unity. Our party is the most fractured it's ever been, and we need a CEO that is going to lead. It's not going to add to the chaos. I'm Judge Wayne Mack. We're one of the fastest growing counties in America, and with this growth comes real challenges, but also comes real opportunities. For me, this campaign is not about politics. It's about leadership. It's about stewardship. It's about integrity. It's about character. It's about doing things the right way when nobody's looking. That's what it's about. Now, I started here 40 years ago in the basement of the courthouse as a custodian working in the courthouse. So when it comes to a courthouse and our current courthouse that we need a new one, I'm a subject matter expert. I know where all the toilets are. I tell people my memoir is going to be from janitor to judge and all the crap I cleaned up in between. And I'm running for this role because I feel called to do it. I've always done the right thing. I've always served, and I've never asked, in 40 years, Judge, I've never asked for a raise, I've never asked for a promotion, and all those things have come to me because I grew where I was planted. I worked with 5 county judges and 16 commissioners. You talk about stress, because every 2 weeks they get together and you got to worry about 3 of them to decide they don't like you anymore. But I didn't do that. I worked and I served. Our chaplaincy program, we needed a chaplaincy program in the county and started it. We have an epidemic of suicide and behavioral health issues in our county. I went forward and I've started the Behavioral Health Suicide Prevention Task Force. I've always been a servant, and I want to continue to serve you in that role. And this election, Montgomery County is on the ballot. And I'm going to encourage y'all, you got our races here, but you need to go down the ballot, because the most important races in this county are precinct chairs and who's going to be the next chair of our Republican Party.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, let's start with a question, and we'll have Judge Mack start with the response. And it's going to be about taxes. Everybody's concerned about that, right? Montgomery County is seeing a proposed $503 million budget for '26, a $37 million increase over the previous year. With rising property valuations concerning many residents, what specific line items would you cut to ensure the tax rate remains at or below the no new revenue rate? And how do you balance that with the need for services?
Thank you. Our budget is actually $508 million. It's had a 50% increase in the last 7 years. And what I can tell you is we don't have 50% more police officers, we don't have 50% more roads, and the commissioners are doing their jobs and being able to manage this growth. They're doing their jobs. What we need is consensus, and we need to have a plan. We, as Montgomery County, the core essential functions of government are these three things: public safety, infrastructure, and managing the dollars that they take from us. We don't give them our tax, they take it from us. We have to, or we're homeless. And so one of the things I would institute, and across the board, zero-based budgeting in every line item, not just the select one, and doing a data analysis when it comes to do we have redundancies in the system? Some of them are statutorily, some of you have to do them, but is there a way to bring collaboration, and is there a way to give every dollar a name? Because fiscal conservatism is exactly that. Fiscally looking at it and having conservative idea and having a plan and giving every dollar a name so we know what it looks like, and having a return on our investment. And then immediately what I would do is do a SWOT analysis, look at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And go through and look at what that does and identify those things. And we're going to hear tonight the 21% pay cut, 21% reduction in the rate. Has anybody's property taxes gone down in this room? Because mine hasn't. My insurance has not gone down. And so let's have a real honest conversation about this. A real honest conversation about this. The appraisal district, the state does this, and local municipalities do this, but somewhere in the middle, you and I are stuck in the chaos that has come with these raised appraisals. And we've got to have an honest conversation about this and sit down and get this done.
I think it's important to understand that we have not had a 50% increase in what we tax you on. As a matter of fact, we've had a 28% increase. In 2019, when I got here, it was $248 million. Today it's $330. Well, where's the rest of the money between 330 and 512? Fees, funds that come in through fees, through grants. There's all kinds of different ways that we bring money in that does not go on your back. We have increased, by the way, law enforcement. When I first got here, from 110 million to 216 million because of the need and the creep of what's going on south of us in Harris County and coming into our area. The issue of taxes, you say, well, 21%, that's no big deal. Here's how the taxes work. Your property taxes are comprised of two things: rate and appraisals. And you know what? I have no control over the appraisals. We can sit there and say, well, we need to change appraisals. Go to the House of Representatives. I tried to do that with Will Metcalf. I tried to do that with Cecil Bell. We went and we fought on the House floor to get the appraisals changed. But you know what? Then it's not changed. So what's the next best thing to do? What I did was I thought, if I can't change the appraisals, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on the rate. And we got the no new revenue rate for the first time in the history of this county. 5 times in a row. You know that? So we did what we could. So that's still not enough. The property tax is still up. You need to understand, a little lesson in civics here for everybody. 18% of the taxes that you pay are county taxes. 18%. The rest is school, mud taxes, college taxes, hospital taxes, of which they choose not to change. We have no control over that. We have changed. We have dropped the rate, and we have done what nobody else in the entire state of Texas has done in terms of your tax rate. I don't like paying more, but I have no control over the appraisals. And oh, by the way, a little incidental here by Constitution, if I call the appraisal district, that is illegal. I can't even talk to them about it. That's where we're at. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, this question will sound sort of familiar, but law enforcement continues to be the county's biggest and largest budget priority. With a focus on pay parity, how will you ensure our sheriff's office and constables remain competitively funding without overextending the county's general fund? And what's your plan for addressing the 100+ new position requests from these departments?
You know, the whole issue of pay parity came up as a result of what took place in the city of Houston. They had over 1,000 vacancies. They couldn't get people to come to work. So the mayor down there said, look, we need to make some changes in pay. Well, guess what? When they did, there were those who talked about going down to Harris County and us losing our law enforcement. The fact of the matter is that Harris County made a commitment and the city of Houston made a commitment, and so Montgomery County stepped up and we made the same commitment. I have been in touch with our tax office right now. We are in line with what we're taking in our growth to be able to accommodate the next 3 to 4 years in meeting pay parity without increasing your taxes. This is just how it works. We have done it. We have done it this last year. We continued with and gave pay parity. We kept our taxes and we dropped them from the previous year. And I have to tell you, it's been awesome what's taken place. But then you throw that in with infrastructure, with the need for roads and bridges. The romance of this whole deal is how do you do it without beating up on the people and keep raising their taxes? And the answer is growth. We have such phenomenal growth, and as growth takes place, and by watching your pennies. Listen, anybody says we don't have a plan and that we're not watching what we're doing, I hear this talk about forensic audit. Are you kidding me? We are required by statute to do these audits, and we are accountable to y'all, and you can go right online right now and you can see our audits. We are a AAA rated county, one of 9 counties in the state of Texas. We have set records and have done things since 2019 that have never been done before. And I'm asking for your support so we can keep the program in place and keep the plans going, and so we won't have a failure in this area.
As a licensed police officer for 25 years in the state of Texas, I know what that looks like to run towards the chaos, and for families that law enforcement is doing that job because they feel called to do it. In Montgomery County, we're blessed. I can tell you that my concern is this, is that Harris County, and I've watched in the 40 years, almost 40 years of working for the county, I've watched Sheriff Gage, I've watched Sheriff Doolittle, I watched the constables come to the commissioners and say, we need this. And so this didn't happen overnight. We needed the pay parity years ago. But again, you have to have a CEO that has that mindset that brings everyone together at the table, and that we understand that you get what you pray for, you get what you pay for, and you get what you vote for. And law enforcement is the number one priority. Public safety is the number one priority of government. And I appreciate the fact that they're doing analysis, what I don't see and what I don't hear is we can sustain this pay parity, and we need to, but we should not have to, it should not be a crisis response. It shouldn't be because what somebody else did in a different county. Then when you talk about the dollars and money going and infrastructure, because it's public safety and infrastructure. So how are we going to maintain the growth? How are we going to have the roads? And how are the growth? And I think growth should pay for growth. And it shouldn't be on the backs of us. It should not be on the backs of the people. There should be a strategic plan of what this looks like. Did you give me the red card? Okay. So, all right. So now I got the red card.
It's coming.
It went up and it went down. It's very up.
Feel a little bit like you're a soccer player. A red card, a yellow card. Managing rapid growth. Montgomery County remains one of the fastest growing regions in the country. As county judge, how will you work with the Commissioner's Court to manage this growth so it doesn't outpace our current water, road, and emergency service capabilities?
First of all, by Constitution, the state of Texas, I have no control over what somebody does with a piece of property if they choose to buy it. We are a personal property state. If somebody buys a piece of property and they want to develop it, they can do it. What we can do is to control what they do with drainage through our most recent drainage standards, of which we have done a fantastic job. And when I took this position in 2019, we immediately implemented Atlas 14 standards. So we have a drainage process that's now in place, and we can regulate the development standards as well, of which we have recently come out with standards for that as well. So the fact of the matter is that we have some regulation ability, but to keep people from growing or people from coming here, it just doesn't work that way unless somebody over in the Texas House of Representatives decide they're going to give the county judge and the commissioner's court ordinance-making ability that cities and home rule cities have. If you know about that, and that's just a little civics lesson there as well. So we can shut down the growth. We can back up on it if we want to do that. You know how we do that? Stop doing things right. Why does everybody want to come and live here? Once we got through COVID, we were the last ones to close and the first ones to open. And when we opened up a floodgate of people wanting to come to a culture, to a place where people are free to be able to go to work. They didn't have to wear masks. We never had any type of vaccine mandates, any of that nonsense that they tried to put on us. And as your county judge, I fought with the state of Texas, with the governor. God love him, I love the governor, he's a friend of mine, but we had to fight over this whole deal as it relates to keeping businesses open, and so the growth is here. We are managing it, we are doing it through a mobility plan and some other things, and we'll get a chance to talk about that as we go forward.
Yeah.
Montgomery County will grow, and the question is whether we will manage that growth wisely and not let it overwhelm our infrastructure. Public safety systems, and the guiding principle here is, as I said earlier, growth should pay for growth. Existing taxpayers should not shoulder all the costs of development and new population, and we should be able to manage and have, developers build things that breathe. And when they're building those things that breathe, we should also have a strategic plan that includes managing that growth, but each quadrant understanding that East County has their needs, West County has their needs, North County and South County has their needs. But we should all be on the same page when it comes to mobility and drainage and public safety and access. And again, going back to what I said earlier, managing the growth and the costs and what that's going to look like, we have to have a plan. The second thing we need to do is have real-time data that before large developments come here, that understand what the downstream impact is. And I understand, we got this little thing called the Constitution where you can buy land and do what you want. But there are safeguards in there as a county where we can have meaningful conversations with people and work with them. And also, when it comes to signing off on that plat, say, yeah, that's gonna put too big of a burden here, and do something about that. And the third thing we need to do to manage growth is have meaningful conversations with our improvement districts, with our chambers, and with our state partners involved. Growth is just not a government issue, it's an economic issue, and business needs to have predictable planning, and good planning protects our properties, and protects our employers and their employees, and we can do better than we're doing. The enemy of great is just good enough. And if you're good with the way things are going, if you're good with that, that's fine. But the enemy of great is just good enough. And we can do great things. We can do them together with unity. This is a perfect example of this room tonight. Unity can do this.
Thank you. Our penultimate question. Vocabulary word for the day, all right? Transparency and public engagement. Many residents feel there's a gap between the decisions made in the Commissioner's Court and the public's understanding of these choices. What steps would you take to improve transparency in the bidding process for county contracts and make the budget workshops more accessible to the average citizen? Judge Mack.
And if that public perception is there, then we need to put light on it. Because that's how you remove shadows. All you need for this room to go dark and for darkness to come in is to turn the light off. Government should be the beacon. All the corporations and LLCs that are represented here, the businesses here, the transparency that the government requires for you to have, for all that you have to do, we should have that same transparency, but you should have to know what that looks like. And what we've experienced in the past is people not knowing what that looks like, or even knowing how to go look at that. And what is a budget hearing? And the CEO should be leading that charge. The CEO of county government should be leading the charge of that. And if that perception's there, shame on all of us in government. But the part of this is informing you too and engaging you so that you understand appraisals, you understand what the hurdles are, and understand that your voice matters. And we have got to do a better job of that. If anybody doubts, now, in my opinion, government does two things well: nothing and overreact. And you as a citizen should be able to look at the budget online and know exactly where every dollar is going. And there's better ways for us to do this. I just believe that with all my heart, that we can always do better.
You know, I have to agree with Judge Mack on that. I do, Wayne. I think that you're right. I think that transparency is essential. That's why the first thing I did when I came into this position, according to my contract with Montgomery County, was to implement an ethics policy that had teeth to it. We went to the state legislature, they gave us the authority to do it, and we have an ethics commission now that operates in terms of what goes on in this county and watches over everything that we do. That's the result of what I did in terms of transparency. Oh, by the way, we also have something else that's required of us. If you come to Commissioner's Court and you have an item you want to discuss on the agenda, you can do that. Oh, by the way, if you want to come to my office, I give you my business card with my cell phone number on it. And all you got to do is call me, set up an appointment with the people in my office. I talk to people all the time about these kinds of things. As far as the budget's concerned, where every penny's going, all you got to do is go to mctx.org and look up budget, and you can find out where every penny is going and what's going on. But see, I don't care how long you've been in government. I don't care whether it's 10 years like me or it's 40 years like Judge, which I think is noble and I think is a great effort. But that doesn't, because you've been there 40 years, doesn't qualify you to automatically know everything that needs to be done. I've been doing this for the last 7 years, now 8, plus the Texas House of Representatives, plus I come from a business background where I had to look at budgets and examine budgets. I'm so interested. The last time I ran, I had a group that was vetting me, and they were complaining about not being able to be involved in the budget process. We have a budget process. We invite everybody here every time we do a budget to come join us and speak up. It's workshops. We have workshops for you. We have a website for you. Everything that you need. I can tell you though, we're not going to spoon feed you. You got to read for yourself. We are well-educated people. We are capable of doing this. This is what we have been doing. We are transparent, and we have the finest county in the state of Texas. We have become the example to the rest of the state in how we do our budgets, how we do our elections, how we do our emergency management. This is the greatest place that anybody would ever want to live. We have more firsts that we've done since I've been in this than any other time in the history of this county. My name is Mark Keough. I am your Montgomery County Judge. I am running again, and I'm going to ask that you support me. Grab a sign on your way out. Thank you all very much. That's my story.
We have time for one more question, or are we having problems with staying awake? I didn't see very many head nods. All right, last question, which I think is one of the key things that our county judges provide in this state. The county judge serves as the director of emergency management during disasters like hurricanes, winter storms. We just had one. Looking at past events, what's one specific change you have made to the county's emergency response protocol to improve communication, especially with residents in unincorporated areas?
Am I up?
Yes, sir.
We show up for work every day, and we talk to the people. And you can go online and you can see everything that we're doing right now. On my Facebook alone, Channel 2, Channel 11, KHOU, they all look at my Facebook and they get information off of that and write articles based upon what is on our communication. Go to Mark Keough, County Judge, on Facebook. You can go to mctx.org. You can go to our EEOC site and see everything that you need to see about emergency management. I will tell you this, If you can take a little walk down memory lane with me, when I got here in 2019, we had Hurricane Imelda. It was disastrous for us. We did not have things in place to be able to operate, and so we immediately made changes. First thing I did was I took my chief of staff, Jason Millsaps, and I made him my emergency manager. Then we went into COVID. Then we went into crisis after crisis. We have become the example to the state of Texas. Do you hear me? The example to the state of Texas in how we operate our emergency management. Our warehouse alone, with the things that we have, is an example to the rest of the state of Texas, how we have managed our funding, which, by the way, is all grant funded. This is not on your backs. This is grant funded. And you know what? We have the finest emergency management and have demonstrated that, whether it's 2,000 acres of a fire and getting that under control, whether it's in Hurricane Beryl, when I went back to the people of this county and took on multi-billion-dollar electric companies in order to get the power back on, or whether it had to do with just last month in the freeze. When I heard about that they were without water out of Lexington Heights, I jumped in my vehicle, I went out there and saw for myself, and I called my chief, and I said, man, you need to get water out here right now, and we met the needs of those people. So we have done so many things. We have become the example for the state of Texas, and the last thing that we did, we were invited, are you ready for this, by the State Department. Marco Rubio's people contacted me and asked if I would send a group of people over to the Middle East into Qatar, where we were able to train them over there on mass casualty because of the fine job we did. I don't know how much better it can get than that. Thank you very much.
There's a topic that me and Judge Keough agree on. 100%. Jason Millsaps, let's give him a round of applause for what he has done. And I wish that same enthusiasm, and I wish that same passion, and I wish that same transparency and good grant funding would be applied to all the other parts of county government. I do. I appreciate Judge Keough's talking about the accessibility of what that looks like for us. But we can't just manage in crisis. We just can't wait for the next crisis to do the right thing. Again, it goes back to what we talked about, having a strategic plan, because it's very, very important. Montgomery County's on the ballot here today. And when March 3rd gets here, you get to choose. You get to choose what's fact, you get to choose what's fiction, and I'm being transparent enough, thanking Jason for his leadership. I realize Judge Keough hired him, but Jason has gone above and beyond. I know there was times in crisis where he would, on his timesheet, would show 21 hours on his timesheet. So that means he had 3 hours of sleep. And that is commendable, and I appreciate that. But we need to put that same kind of effort into infrastructure, making sure public safety has everything they need, and who exactly is running the county judge's office. We need to know that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, very much.